Eastern Europe today stands at the center of global attention. A region shaped by history, divided by rivers, mountains, and borders, it has once again become a front line in the struggle between great powers. As conflict continues in Ukraine and tensions rise along NATO's eastern flank, the alliance is determined to demonstrate its strength, its readiness, and its unity. Among the many operations that NATO conducts, few are as striking or as demanding as the Wet Gap Crossing. At first glance, it looks like a simple scene, tanks and armored vehicles driving across a floating bridge. But beneath the surface lies one of the most complex maneuvers in modern warfare, a test not only of steel and firepower, but of coordination, engineering, and trust. When the exercise begins, it starts with silence. Then, activity surges to life as engineers move to the riverbank. Specialized vehicles arrive, their crews unloading massive pontoons, boats, and bridge segments. Piece by piece, they connect the floating sections, working with speed and precision. Every bolt, every cable, every plank matters, because soon, dozens of armored vehicles, each weighing more than 60 tons, will depend on their craftsmanship. Around them, infantry spread out, weapons ready, eyes fixed on the tree line. Reconnaissance units keep watch, scanning for potential threats. In a real war, this would be the most vulnerable moment, the time when an enemy artillery strike or ambush could be most devastating. To counter this, smoke screens would rise, blanketing the river in a gray curtain, concealing the engineers' work from hostile eyes. As the bridge takes shape, the ground begins to tremble. Heavy armor approaches. The first M1 Abrams tank rumbles into view, its massive turret scanning the horizon as it edges toward the crossing. Behind it, Bradleys and Strykers line up, each vehicle following in disciplined sequence. The weight of these machines would shatter any civilian bridge, but the military engineers have built this structure to withstand the pressure. The floating bridge shifts, creaks, and groans, but it holds. One after another, the vehicles roll across, steel tracks clattering against the metal plates, the river below churning with the wake of their passage. And then comes the heartbeat of any modern army, the logistics. Trucks loaded with fuel, ammunition, rations, and equipment follow in the wake of the armor. Without them, even the strongest tanks would grind to a halt. This is what makes the crossing so vital, not just moving firepower, but sustaining it on the far side of the river. In a matter of hours, a natural barrier has been transformed into a temporary highway for an entire mechanized force. But behind this spectacle of machines, the true story is about people. The engineers tightening bolts with muddy hands, the soldiers standing guard with eyes straining into the forest, the tank crews sitting inside their steel giants, trusting that the bridge beneath them will not give way. These moments forge confidence in equipment, in training, and in the soldiers standing beside them. For NATO, this kind of training is more than routine. It is about proving that nations can fight as one. American, German, Polish, Dutch, all contribute their vehicles, their engineers, their soldiers. Different languages, different equipment, but united by shared procedures and shared resolve. This is what makes NATO unique, the ability to operate together as a single, seamless force. To understand why this matters, we need to look back at history. Rivers have always shaped wars. Napoleon struggled to cross them, entire armies during World War II stalled at them. The crossing of the Rhine in 1945, for example, required a massive Allied effort. A river can be more than just water. It can be a fortress, a shield, a line that stops an advancing army cold. But today, NATO demonstrates that no such barrier will hold it back. By practicing wet gap crossings, the alliance proves that it can move its forces quickly and decisively, regardless of terrain. This is not just training, it is a message to the world. And that message is clear. To allies, it says, "We are prepared, we can reinforce you, and you are not alone." To adversaries, it says, "No river, no mountain, and no border will stop us from defending our territory." The image of tanks rolling across a river is not just military symbolism, it is geopolitical theater. A reminder that NATO's strength lies not just in its weapons, but in its ability to use them with precision and unity. As the final vehicles reach the far shore, the exercise comes to an end. The bridge, still trembling from the weight of armored columns, stands as proof of what human ingenuity and alliance cooperation can achieve. The soldiers pack up, the pontoons are disassembled, and the river returns to its quiet flow, but the lesson remains. This might look like just another military drill, but the Wet Gap Crossing tells a deeper story. It shows us the fusion of history and modern strategy, of engineering and firepower, of technology and human determination. It is a reminder that deterrence is not only about weapons, but about credibility, the credibility to act, the will to defend, and the ability to overcome any obstacle. Because in modern warfare, every barrier can be crossed. And NATO wants to make sure the world knows it.